Lead code number 37, Sudoku Solver. In this problem, we are asked to solve this Sudoku Solver problem, and it is a really difficult problem, but it's kind of easy as well. So one idea is that first of all, it need to be valid, right? Hopefully, the given board is valid, uh, and what we have to do. And Sudoku must satisfy the following rule: contain row column, that's fine, empty string. So if it is empty, then what we can do is do backtracking, right? And then try each number, one, two, four, and then keep on solving until we go to the end of the uh, row and column, right? Until we finish, we will try to do backtracking and then try to fill every row and column with a number, and we will return the board. Or we don't return the board, we will have to modify in place. Okay. uh, so now let's uh, record what we have to do is uh, value to store what is in row and what is in column for I in range n. Okay, so n equals to 9 because we know there are 9 rows and 9 column, right? For rows, column, and box. Okay, box, so cols and boxex boxes, right? So we have row, column, and boxes, right? And then what we have to do is go through board and then populate this row and column with what we are given, right? If it is not empty, then it might be in the row and column. So we need to keep track of what is given because we cannot modify that, right? So uh, for R in range n, or C in range n, right? And then rows at R dot add. Also, we only want to add if board at row comma column is not equals to empty, right? If it is not empty, then only add, which will be a string. Okay, uh, then it will be board at row comma column, which we will be adding. Okay, we will add it to row, column, and box, right? Uh, Boxes, let's say, and then calls. Calls and column C, box, and let's define box, and box will be 3 times r by 3 plus c by 3. Okay, so this is our box, this is our column, right? And we know that this needs to be there. Okay, now let's try to create a backtracking function which will try to populate our board by value, right? So let's say backtrack, and then we will be provided with row and column. Okay, and if r equals to row, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, right? If r equals to n minus 1 and c equals to n, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, right? If it is this, then return return true, right? Because after backtracking, we reached at the end and then everything was filled properly. That means it's valid, right? If uh, okay, so if r, so if c equals to n, right? If I'm on the last column and I'm not at the end, then what I can do is backtrack, return backtrack, track of row will be r plus 1 and c will be 0. Okay, so I want to, if I'm at the end of the first of the row, right? and I'm at the end of the column. So my column is 9. Whatever row I'm on, I know that I'm not on the last row. So now the idea is to go to the next row and column will be at first, right? Try to from the next one. Um, Now that's how we do it. Okay. So I know that it is not, I'm not at the end, I'm not on the column. So now time for backtracking, right? If uh, backtrack track at the row comma column is not equals to this, right? Uh, let's do this. If this equals to dot, then only we have to do it, right? If it is not equals to dot, then what we have to do? We have to do return backtrack of row is same and then c plus one. Okay, uh, so we know that we have to skip this dot because it's something is already there, so we have to skip it. Okay, now what is the idea is for I in the range, I in range n n, right? So value will be str of, and it need to be from 1 to 10, okay? Str of I, right? If value not in not in rows at row, right? Whatever row I'm on, if the value is not in the row and value not in cause of C, okay? It is not in the column and value not in boxes at box equals to 3 times r by 3 3 plus c by 3, right? And if the value is not in the box, right, then what we can do is add this to our value and then backtrack it. Okay, then what we can do is board at row comma column equals to value and rows at a row equals to value dot add of value calls at c dot value and boxes at box dot add of value, right? So we add this value, then what do? Then we do uh, backtracking backtrack of row plus one, same row, column plus one, right? So we solve the current row and column. Now the idea is to go and solve the next column, okay? And then if this equals to true, if this will return true, right? If this is true, then return true. Otherwise, it didn't return true. So what we have to do is remove the value that we just added. Remove, remove, right? So if the value didn't work, right, and if we didn't get a success criteria, that means we have to remove the value and then hopefully work on the next value. Uh, and that should be all. But now, after we have this, we need to do backtrack, backtrack of row will be 0, column will be 0, right? Uh, yes, board add row comma column, backtrack, okay? Board row comma column, and if it didn't work, then what do we have to do? Uh, also here, I have to do dot, right? Bring it back whatever it was, right? So if it didn't work, then just saying, hey, I haven't used this, and let other people figure this out. So submit.